Welcome to the Good Fight Collective podcast. So glad you're with us. I'm Jason. This is my friend George, and we're so excited about this content that we're going to be unfolding. The goal of our podcast really is to help you be stronger together as men as you're fighting the good fight. And George and I have been friends for a long time, and Lord knows how many cups of coffee and plates of wings and ribs and various meals we've had, but something that's been true for our relationship for 3 decades is that we're always trying to just ask God, what are you trying to teach me? What's going on here? What are we learning? And this podcast is one of those conversations, and I don't know how it's going to land with certain people. Our hope is it's helpful, and our hope is it's something that challenges people just to think a little bit. But there's a tension that we've been feeling that we want to unpack in this podcast, and that tension kind of it's been created by the modern church, and that's kind of the idea of that church is like a come and see experience, and that's actually in so many ways it's awesome. You have this engaging communicators and great music and production, and a spirit of excellence, desire to honor God through programming, and I know I've benefited from that in deep ways. I've been a part of that in a lot of ways over the years. The tension is, if it's just a come and see thing, church is just a 1 hour a week thing. And it becomes a thing, the pastor becomes the idol you hinge your faith on. And as sinful humans, we should be wary of putting all of our hope and trust in another human, right? And should we put some? Of course. All of it? It's dangerous.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in here real quick, Jason, just on that. I think that's a great point. And man, we want great pastors. We want strong churches. We want a welcoming environment. Yeah. We want excellence. Hey, anything worth doing, especially if you're doing it for the Lord, you should do it with excellence. And it should never fade from that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think what's dangerous is we when we put all of our evangelical expectations on one person, it gets dangerous because they're a sinner and they're going to let you down. And when your faith hinders on this one person that speaks once a week, we're creating these idols. And so the danger of the come and see church is that we've literally placed so much of our like daily, how we believe God operates under the banner of 1 hour a week with a group of people. And corporate church is amazing, and it's something we should be a part of, corporate worship, and to be under God's word and to be under God's teaching. At the same time, the come and see is only part of the faith. There's also a go and do part. And that's what we've been wrestling with, that tension between come and see and going and doing. So not just going to church once a week for an hour or whatever that is and leaving and checking the box. It's also that like, hey, there's things to do here when it comes to my faith. There's things God's challenging us to do that's a daily part of our life. And whether that's loving your neighbor or serving, investing in your community, taking your experience at church and bringing it home into work. And your pastor can't do all that for you, right?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of, it's kind of taking that Sunday faith, that 1 hour a week where we go. It's almost a pep rally sometime for the saints to get together, and then it's the go and do. And if we're not careful, we'll just take on the persona that the pastor gives forth. Whatever their gifting is, a lot of times that's how they lead. They lead from their gifting. And example, like you said there, if evangelism is keen and that's their gifting, they're going to lead their church that, hey, everybody needs to be out and evangelizing 24/7, 365. And if that's not your gifting, sometimes you feel like, you feel lesser than.
Yeah.
And do we need to evangelize? Absolutely. But if it's not your gifting, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for you. And everybody has different giftings, and everyone has different personalities. And that's what makes up the whole of the body of Christ.
Yeah.
As we do, we come and see, and we take part. And man, you want a pastor that's pointing you to Jesus. Everything they say, everything they do, it's not pointing them to themselves. They're not using the I, me, my, mine. If you've got a pastor using I, me, my, mine a little bit too much, they're pointing you to themselves.
Yeah.
And they're not pointing you to Jesus. So that you take what you got on Sunday. Hopefully you had a chance to do some corporate worship. Man, you might be a hand raiser, and that's great, man. Worship, and then take that out to the go and do with the gifts and the persons in your collectives in the various areas, whether it's at work, whether you're playing a round of golf, whatever you might be doing. It's important that you take it to that next step and don't just leave it in the four walls of the church.
And you've talked even about when it comes to even the church service, being aware of who the audience is, knowing your strengths as a leader, but also your audience. Can you unpack that a little bit?
Wow, man, that's so tough, and that kind of goes back again. When I'm leading something, I'm a high red, I'm a D, I'm a 1 on the Enneagram. I mean, I'm like, hey, here's the truth. You got it. Okay, good. Let's move on. Yeah. And I have a beautiful wife, and she's like, whoa, wait a minute, and she's a whole lot smarter than I'll ever be, but she needs some of the why.
Yeah.
And it's not that she doesn't trust me. That's just how she's wired. So in that sometimes in that service for that even come and see, it's important that you're thinking about your worship service, even with different spiritual directions going on and spiritual formations going on. I don't know hardly any churches that sit and have maybe 30 minutes, not 30 minutes, 30 seconds of silence. Even for us to have an awkward pause right there, people are like, wait, what, did something happen? But to even have that moment, because you know what? Somebody needs that moment of silence so that they can truly connect with the Lord during that, because that's how they're wired. And some go out and walk in nature, and that's how they're wired.
Yeah.
But so again, should we gather together with the saints on Sundays? Absolutely. But I love what you're saying here and saying the go and do. What are we going to take? What next step are we going to do to our different areas that we're going to go out to?
Yeah, and George, you know this. I served on staff with a parachurch ministry for a decade where evangelism and being aggressive kind of relationally was a part of the culture, and it's hard to separate that in my thinking sometimes because it's deeply embedded in how I think about ministry and how I think about investing in people. But I do. We've wrestled a lot with just this idea of church is not just an event. Church should be a thing. Like your men's group that you have, or my men's group, is that should be part of church. That is a gathering of the saints, right? To build each other up. And what does that look like to go and do beyond just going and sitting for an hour and listening and going, oh, that was good. What'd you think? Oh, that was good. Oh, I didn't like that. Okay, cool. Let's move on. What time's the game? And trying to interact. And I think for us to fight the good fight, there's that tension of like, man, like church is great. Does it launch in me on a daily basis? And this is by all means, we're engaging right now with some unbelievable church leaders. This is not a shot at the church. This is a dream for the church. What if we could help come alongside churches and help them think about, man, we want to help you fight the good fight all the time. We want to launch you to go and do and to be people who represent the kingdom and God in all you do, at home, at work, in your community, whatever that looks like, whether it's the golf course, whether it's the coffee shop or whatever that might be, that you're out and about representing your king well. And that's a challenge if all we're doing is just listening, right? And we're just going with the weekend. And I'm as guilty as anyone as getting in the car and debating what I thought about, the songs they chose or why did they do anyway. And that's a whole different conversation. But I think that the putting the feet to it and making it practical, that's where the good fight really happens, right?
I think so. I think the good fight happens when, even if you're tuned into the news and the first thing that possibly runs through your mind is a biblical worldview.
Here we go.
You don't just Sunday morning, I show up and boom, yep, I've got the biblical worldview on Sunday morning. But it's also on Monday morning at work. What's my biblical worldview? How am I taking everything in through a biblical worldview lens? And that just changes the perspective of a person. And it changes the perspective of how they treat other persons and how they walk and how they talk and how they act. And it's not just an act on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
It's how they act over and over. And I'm going to tell a quick side story here.
Go for it.
My grandfather's the godliest man I've ever known. Back in the day at his it was the big church in town, but they would collect the money on Sunday. That's back when we had cash, the green stuff, and people didn't pay online, and they would lock it up in the safe. And my granddad, by himself, would come on Monday morning, count the offering, and take it to the bank and deposit it. There's not a church around that would allow a single person to do that today. But that's the kind of integrity and the biblical worldview, I would say, that my grandfather walked with on a daily basis, not just Sunday morning, but Monday morning when he showed up to count the offering, when he ran his plumbing company, that he walked with integrity. And he took this come and see Sunday morning, but he allowed the overflow to flow out of his life on a go and do on a daily basis. And that's probably what's ignited me along the way.
Yeah, that's cool. I think for you and I, we've both been around a pastor a lot who has a gift of putting practical handles on biblical truth. And I think that for us over the years, when it comes to unpacking it at lunch or unpacking it with your small group and giving you some practical ways to take biblical truth that helps your biblical worldview, right? To be able to, how does this affect, how do I live this week? Not just know about it, but actually do it.
Yeah, it takes incredible skill and talent and time and energy and effort to take something that in some people's minds are complicated, the scriptures sometimes, and make them simple. And sometimes it's made so simple people go, well, that can't be true. Well, no, it is. Incredibly gifted to make it simple, to put, as you like to say, put handles on it that we can actually, oh, yeah, I can apply that to my life immediately. And you're going to show up the next day, wherever you are on that Monday, that Tuesday, Wednesday, all the way through, and it's still applicable. It's not just Sunday morning, oh, yeah, that was great, let's move on. Like you said, who's playing ball at first game today?
Yeah.
So absolutely, putting handles on it, making the scriptures simplistic is a gift. And if you got a pastor that can do that, that's wonderful. But I know their desire is for you to not just go, oh, that was a great sermon, pastor. The old Andy Griffith days, you stand out front, shake the hand with the pastor, great sermon, then you go on and you don't think about it again. We want to help men become in this authentic community and fight the good fight of faith every day, that the first thing that comes to mind is, how should I respond to this from a biblical worldview?
And that's what part of going and doing involves, right?
Absolutely.
It's taking that worldview and applying that. I think for us, following Jesus is not for the faint of heart. To actually do this thing and try to fight the good fight, it requires a lot. It requires more than an hour a week, and it requires something from us that causes us to have to surrender and let go and say, I can't do this on my own. And I think for us, this tension of fighting the good fight, if anything, has elevated our need to let go and to surrender and to trust God with things that we can't do for ourselves because of the mess I make of things, because of the way that things go sometimes. It's this journey is just not for the faint of heart. And I think that part of going and doing, I have so much respect for people who practice this on a regular basis, because I've grown to understand this is not easy. This is a battle, and this is a tough thing. And for guys that are consistently trying to navigate their life with wisdom and not just comfort, but also the struggle of actually trying to pursue and live a biblical worldview lifestyle, man, that's not easy.
No, if we're presented with an opportunity, and boy, we can see how this is going to benefit us, either relationally, financially, emotionally, in any type way, we're all over that. But a lot of times, walking the biblical worldview, following Jesus, sometimes we're presented with some things, and our integrity is called into play. And are we going to make the choice, Jason, to follow Jesus and follow the truths that we know to be true? Or are we going to, maybe a little white lie here, maybe a little fudge here, because I can't see how this is going to benefit me if I don't do that. So you're right. It's not for the faint of heart, fighting the good fight of faith, but the rewards, because God sees what's coming out on the other side. And we are to walk faithfully as we continue to go and do.
That's good. We wrote down this as we were kind of chatting about this earlier in Philippians 4, Paul writes, it's 4:8-9. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever, lovely, not a word I use every day, but it's cool. Whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. Whatever you have learned or received or heard from me or seen in me, put it into practice, and the God of peace will be with you. I love that he says put into practice, period.
He didn't say consider it. He didn't say maybe do it. Kind of, what did he say there?
Put it into practice.
Woo, we don't get a choice.
And the God of peace will be with you. There's a promise there. Like, hey, go do this stuff. Take this truth you're hearing and do something with it. But you're not doing it alone. Like, God's going to be with you. And I just know for me, selfishly, like, I've seen this to be true. For I could tell thousands of stories of God showing up and things not making sense and what's going on here. At the same time, the peace with coming of knowing that I'm not navigating this alone. God's given me friends like you and some other folks who've been in the journey with me. And I just can't imagine trying to fight the good fight alone. But to go and do, it's a scary thing. And it's just one of those challenges for us that we've been really challenged with, I think, as we try to put practical handles on what does it mean to fight the good fight.
Yeah, and it's just like this whole the Good Fight Collective ministry. We're going to go and do. We're open-handed.
Yeah.
We talked about it. It's like, hey, here's a gap. And God says, yeah, and y'all go do something about it. And so that's what we're trying to do. Yeah. And I hope everybody will continue to join along with us on this journey. Now, I think you wrote down a few questions here maybe to leave some thoughts.
Yeah, thanks for saying that. We were trying to think through some ways to make this practical. Let's just say you're watching this and you are in a men's group. Or you're like me and you're a pontificator, you're a thinker. And so we just thought we'd give you a couple questions to think about and some things to make this practical and to put some handles on this. So number one, do you think you're wired more to come and see or go and do? Why? Number two, how has this tension played out in your life /church/group? The tension of going and seeing versus coming and seeing versus going and doing. How is your personal time with God going? What are some ways you can go and do in life that God has trusted you with? And that's one of those things for us that we've talked about. You know, George and I have different gift sets, but also there's things that we have in common. Like, I think the going and do, sometimes it's like, what am I already doing? You're playing golf. How can I leverage my playing golf to invest in the people around me? I'm going to be hanging out on the porch with some folks. How can I leverage my porch time to go and do and to not just... And so I think that's a challenge. Hey, what is the things God's given you in your life that you're already doing, or maybe you should be doing? And then what is your personal challenge takeaway as you think about this topic? I think for us over the years, it has changed. But there's a challenge that always comes when you navigate the come and see and go and do.
Jason, those are great. Thanks for sharing those with us. And we hope you will take some time with those and wrestle with them individually. And if you have a men's group, within your men's group. So, hey, we want you to make sure you fully understand. We want you and we encourage you to come and see on Sunday morning.
Yep.
Attend your local church. Get involved at your local church. But maybe while you're there, also start to think, hey, what does God want me to go and do? Hey, we're for you. We're with you. Thanks for being with us as we fight the good fight of faith. Fight on.